Welcome to the Dodger Download, the official podcast of the Fort Dodge Community School District. Each episode brings you the latest updates from our schools, including school board recaps, interviews with educators, staff, and students, plus upcoming events and stories from around the district. Whether you're a parent, student, or community member, stay connected to what's happening in the Dodger Nation. Let's dive into this episode of the Dodger Download. Welcome to the Dodger Download. This is episode number 8. Can't believe it. This is the official podcast of Fort Dodge Schools. I'm Superintendent Josh Porter, and today's episode is all about school safety. Whether you're a proud student, parent, or a proud Dodger, we're glad you're here today. I want to start off by thanking today's sponsor for today's podcast. Looking for a bank that knows you by name, believes in building a stronger Fort Dodge? At First Interstate Bank, we're more than just a financial institution. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your biggest supporters. From personal checking and savings to business loans and community investments, we're here to help you grow every step of the way. First Interstate Bank, proud to serve Fort Dodge, proud to serve you. Stop by today and experience the difference of banking local. So today on Dodger Download, I'm excited to have here with me Jordan Hagar, our SRO, which is School Resource Officer for those acronyms that we like to use in the school system all the time, and Roger Porter, our Director of Security and Safety. Before we dive into today's episode, it's time for Board Tidbits. Last night we had a board meeting. It was a pretty short meeting. I think I've said that a little bit often, but in the fall here, board meetings don't have a lot of agenda items. You know, we do a lot of action items throughout the year, really heavy January, February, March, especially when it comes to purchasing and contracts for the next year. So it's been a little light on the board agenda, but we did have 2 items on last night's agenda. Mr. Ruffridge had both of those items. The first item was just a standard item every year. Homecoming game is on October 17th, and the Booster Club supports fireworks for the homecoming game. So we have all of our permits, all the things signed off. We have to get permission from the city and do all those, check all those boxes. We do about a 5 to 7 minute fireworks display at the conclusion of the homecoming game. So homecoming is October 17th. You can expect fireworks again, just like we have in the previous years. Also, Mr. Ruffridge talked about clubs and activities that are offered at Fort Dodge Senior High. Last night, he approved the 2025-2026 club list. We're up to over 30 clubs that we offer to Fort Dodge Community School District students. So just for example, last year we had a probation. We always have every club has a probationary year. We make sure it has a sponsor, make sure it has kids that are involved. Jeremiah Reed, new teacher at the high school, really into racing. We have some kids that are really into racing and want to learn more about racing. He started a racing club. I think they have 8 to 10 kids now that are engaged in this club, and they'll do some different activities, check out race cars, maybe check a race out here and there. And this kind of gives them permission to do that. So kind of cool, the different clubs that we offer. On the other end of it, if a club doesn't have any activity or if we lose a sponsor, we give it about a year. If there's no activity in it, then we delete the club. And then if someone comes back and they want to start a new club, then we start the process all over again. So that was really it for last night's board meeting. So let's get to why we're here today. Today's all about school safety. I'm excited to have Roger Porter over here with me as our Director of Security and Safety for the school district. And we have Jordan Hagar, who's our School Resource Officer. So both guys, a little bit new to the position, but I think this is year 2 for both. School safety, we always, year 3 for Roger.
Starting year 3.
Starting year 3. We say often the most important thing we do is try to keep kids safe. The safety of our students and staff is our number one priority, and it really is, and it's a tough job. So I'm excited to have these two just maybe tell a little bit about themselves, give their background, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So I'm just going to start with Roger.
Okay, my background, I'm from Fort Dodge. I graduated from Fort Dodge Senior High in 1986, went off to college, came back, joined the Fort Dodge Police Department. I was there for almost 30 years, with the last 6 years as the chief of police. Once I hit that magical age of 55 and was able to collect my pension, I decided to retire. And that lasted about 3 months, and I was hired on the district as the Director of Safety and Security. I'm starting my 3rd year right now, and I really enjoy it. Again, like you said earlier, you know, the number one priority as I go through my job and do what I need to do, our number one priority is the safety of those in the building, the kids, the staff, and the visitors and everybody involved. So that when I do things, I kind of keep that in the forefront of my mind. This is why I'm doing this. So.
And I'm going to let Jordan introduce himself and talk about his background a little bit. Then we'll talk about how we got to a point where we have a director of security and safety, because that was a new position when Roger started. So go ahead, Jordan.
Like he said, I'm Jordan Hagar. I'm the school resource officer. This is my second year of doing that.
Yep.
Before that, I was on patrol with the Fort Dodge Police Department for about 6 years. Yep. I grew up in Fort Dodge. I graduated from Fort Dodge Senior High in 2005, went off to college and came back here, worked for a little bit in a few other jobs, and started with the PD around 2019. And, it's been great. I've been enjoying being the school resource officer. A big push for me was the fact that I grew up here. I went to the school, and I have 4 kids that are or will be in the school district here. So, it's kind of nice being tied into that.
And that's awesome. So what I've got to know most about Jordan is a lot of guys come from patrol and then they come in to be in the SRO position. And then sometimes there's opportunities to advance, things like that. Jordan loves kids. He loves being at the school. He was the most excited staff member that I have found over the last 3 months that was ready for school to start.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I was asking everybody if they were excited. You could see the excitement, but I might have been a little bit too excited for some of them.
He was pretty excited. And so one of the things with SROs, it's kind of been a trend, right? So I don't know how long Fort Dodge has had one. I think we've probably had one for quite a while, I would imagine. A lot of it was, all right, we need, there's all kinds of bad things happening in school. We need cops in buildings, and we had 2 SROs. And that was kind of the narrative, I think, when school started to do it. We've really shifted. I've got to know about 2 or 3 different SROs that have come through the system since I've been at Fort Dodge. And we've really shifted that narrative a little bit to relationship building relationship with the police department and guys in the force.
I think just from, like you said, the SRO has been around for a while, formally for about 10 years, I'm guessing. But, you talk about Jordan and even those before him that were in that position. It's about building relationships and with the adults in the building as well, and even more so with the kids. Every time I have to stop over and talk to Jordan, I walk in his office, there's 3 or 4 kids in there because he's got a report, and they're always 3 or 4 different kids, or you see him in the hallway and they're coming up, or I see him at graduation and nobody wants to take their picture with me, but all these kids come up and want to take their picture with Jordan before on graduation. So it's a great program. I think.
That's what I want to be there for. That's what I was excited the most about it is building the relationships. I get along with all the staff. All the staff is great, and I enjoy working with them. Yep. But when I came back and there were kids waiting for me at my office door on the first day of school, I was excited to see that. Knowing that I might be that adult contact that they need. Just being able to talk to them, and that they want me to sit with lunch with them. That I enjoy that, but I also know that in doing that, I'm building those relationships. I'm building that trust, and other kids see me build that trust, and so they feel comfortable coming and talking to me. Yep. So a lot of times that gives me a heads up of something that may be happening that not everybody else, and it makes my job easier in that essence too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so when I took over as superintendent, I remember us talking about, we had 2 SROs at the time. I think someone had left and went, maybe, took an advancement to the police department. So we were going to have to hire another one. And then the conversation kind of turned to, we love what the SROs do, right? We had one at the middle school. We had them at the high school. It does help because, when we have certain instances, Jordan has to go to the middle school and assist with some things that are probably a little bit more high level that we need him to deal with. But we really wanted to focus on school safety across the district, K-12, and we knew that was an emphasis and somewhere an area of weakness for us. While we knew that was probably going to put a little bit more on the SRO plate from a district perspective, we were hoping that we could maybe gather some things and do some things a little differently across the district. And so that's kind of where Roger come about, right? We didn't know if it would be Roger, but we knew that we were going to hire somebody and we were going to try to recruit somebody to come in and oversee the safety of the district across the board. And so talk about maybe a couple of those things that you did that previously like SROs wouldn't do, right? They would help in elementaries. I shouldn't say that. They would help in other areas as needed, but really we're talking about a whole different level of security for Fort Dodge schools. And why don't you talk about some of those things you did?
So from like what the SROs do, they are there from a day-to-day basis and deal with stuff on a day-to-day basis. Not, if there's an issue that needs to be dealt with from a criminal standpoint or a violation of some sort, they'll deal with that. The director of safety and security I kind of help do some of the stuff that he's doing, just to kind of take some of the stuff off his plate, but mine goes a little bit more deeper into the school district side of things. When I started, I was helped write and secure a $350,000 grant for security purposes. Yep. I rewrote and wrote the emergency operations plan, update that every year. Those are things that I do differently, more on the managerial or administrative side for the district.
Yeah, and I think some things that can be lost in there is the conversations that Roger has with our secretaries in our buildings, right? That talks about entry and when do we let people in a building? When do we not let them into a building? Unfortunately, there are some things that happen where we have to trespass people or do some different things like that. And
so that's and those are constant updates. I did that over the summer. We revisited the visitor entry protocol for the buildings. Yep. Some buildings, each building's a little different on how they did things. We wanted to kind of bring that to a more constant. So when you do move from building to building, everything's the same. So we kind of revisited that and put some protocols into place. And like 2 years ago when I first started, we kind of revisited entries into primarily the elementaries where, you got 3 doors and people are coming and going from 3 different doors. We changed that to one entry point and they're all monitored. And I know some people were upset initially, kind of like the roundabouts in Fort Dodge. People were upset when they got the roundabouts, and now everybody's, for the most part, fine with them. But it's not about making it inconvenient for the families. It's about making it secure for the families and their kids in the building. And it's like I said when I talked earlier, the primary points that I look at whenever we do anything is this going to be better for those in the building, the kids and stuff. We want to make sure they're safe and secure.
Yeah, some drastic improvements to our communication across the district. Radios have been a big deal. We have a streamline of communication with the fire department, the police department.
Absolutely.
We've encouraged our building administrators, the first person that they contact if they're not sure, unless it's 911, the first person they contact is Roger, right? Yeah. Typically that'd be the superintendent or someone else. Well, he's got a different skill set than I do, so it's a perfect opportunity to know, do we call law enforcement? Is it something he can handle? Is it something the SRO can handle? And then we go from there, instead of just being 911 or, hey, call the soup. Well, the soup might be like, superintendent might be like, I don't know, call the SRO. So we've really streamlined our communications, our walkie systems, our ability to talk across the district has improved greatly. So kind of want to bounce a little bit in your direction, Jordan. What does the day-to-day look like for the SRO of Fort Dodge schools?
I guess on an average day, the biggest thing that I can do is get there, as the kids are coming in, be present when they're coming in so they can see me. They know that I'm there. A lot of them come and say hi to me, visit me in my office right away. I'll hang out in the hall or go to the cafeteria and talk to them, kind of see what's going on, maybe talk to the staff and see if they know anything, kind of going on for the day or lately, or past anything I may know that's going on. Go to my office, check my emails, have a few kids come and talk to me. But a lot of it's just being there and passing and, spending the time with the kids, during passing or lunch. If we've got an issue, whether it's, policing or not, I still try to be involved with it too. A lot of what I get in my free time when I'm not actually dealing with an issue is the ability to, kind of be a informal, mentor or educator. Kids will come to questions with me about law enforcement or things that they have going on in their lives outside of school and want help with it or want to, ask me questions, or, sometimes they just think it's cool to come and hang out with me. I try to keep it to a minimum and keep them focused on school, but, some of them stray away from that. And if, I know that if I just take a few moments to talk to them, then that can kind of help them get back on track and go back to their day. And I guess I'd rather see that than not see them at school too. So if that time talking to me is an incentive to keep them there and keep them present, then that's huge for me to see that too. But it varies every day, because I could just be in my office and at lunch and in the halls, or I could be going from school to school, just dealing with little issues here and there, or whatever comes up. So
yeah. And unfortunately, and I think something that I think it's important that our viewers know just a little bit is the day-to-day isn't always the toughest part about what happens or what you guys deal with, right? So unfortunately, it's kind of like when things happen outside of school that come into school. So, we don't deal with everything that happens outside of school, but if something outside of school comes and starts to impact our day in school, then now it becomes our problem a little bit, or we are looked at to try to fix the problem, right? So I'm thinking about both of you guys. Something happens and some kids do something, inappropriate in town, and it comes to a legal level. They're contacting you. Sometimes we get some social media things that unfortunately can't get managed outside of school, and then then they run into you guys, or if it's not on a high level and it's bullying, harassment, it comes to Roger. So talk about those just a little bit. I don't know if Roger, if you want to talk about that. So Roger has the wonderful job of doing, at least handling and taking the first step of all of our bullying and harassment. And so this has been a big change for our admin. It's been an awesome change, but talk about some of that a little bit.
So, you're exactly right. A lot of stuff happens outside of school and it bleeds into the school, and then we have to deal with it. Which is fine. I get a lot of, I've had since I've been here for 2 years, most of the people in the community know my background. So, I've fielded calls from parents just seeking advice, because they know my background, and I'm more than happy to give that. I always, say right off the bat, I'm not an attorney, so don't take it for granted, and I'm not representing
You sure you're not an attorney?
So, but you're right, the social media is a huge thing, a lot of the bullying and harassment we get is over social media, and a lot of times that's happening outside of the hours of 1 to 3, Monday through Friday, and then it unfortunately bleeds back into the school. We do, the administration and all the school buildings do the best they can to try to curb that and try to put a stop to it. Again, a lot of it is things that get to a boiling point that we don't know about until it's too late, and then they come and tell us, a parent might call us or something, and I always try to, instill in them, let us know right away so we can do something. Even if it's happening outside the school, I'd rather know about it now so we can kind of do something in the school if there's something that we can do in the school to keep that from boiling over.
Yeah, and I remind people we're not perfect either, right?
No, absolutely.
Sometimes things get sent to us. Sometimes things get forgotten, or sometimes we try an avenue to deal with things and we don't figure it out right away. We don't get much slack though from parents and community, and I know it's their kids, so we get it.
Yeah, I know, I get it, but but it's. A lot of things are tough to deal with when you don't know about it.
Yeah.
And I'd rather know about it, even if it's happening outside. I'd rather hear about it so we can try to do something inside to prevent that from boiling over. So and I know the administrations that feels the same way when we have those conversations. So.
And sometimes it might feel a little bit petty or small, but even those petty small things turn into really big things sometimes without us even knowing.
What's petty to us, perception is reality. So if they perceive it as a big deal, and you're talking about a 57-year-old compared to a 14-year-old, with their life experiences, what they're going through is a huge thing for them, and so you can't think of it as petty, because it might be petty to you, but it's definitely not petty to them. So you want to take it seriously and run with it and do the best job you can to help that child or that family.
Jordan, anything on that at all?
I agree. When they're out of school, the access to social media, and that is just, it's different from when we were in school, certainly.
And no social media when I was in school.
Right. I know. I didn't until the very end but a lot of times the kids, the students are just messaging each other back and forth. They may not even see each other at school all day for the most part, and, just kind of building up that drama, and then when they do see each other at school, that's it leads to the altercations. And I would say the majority of the issues that I come to deal with, with you and with other staff, certainly if we would have known about it, we could have had some sort of intervention, but unfortunately that's not the case a lot of the time, because it happens outside of school, and then it just boils over at school when they see each other. So.
Yeah. So one thing, and I don't want to necessarily be hesitant to talk about it, but one thing that's just a little bit we're more aware of than we ever have been is lockdown drills, and unfortunately school shootings are a real thing. I think there was just one at a school up in Minnesota. It's the worst nightmare of anybody that works at a school and any parent. I don't know if you guys just want to talk about some of the things that we do to try to prepare our kids and our staff and our police force, right? We have a great relationship with our law enforcement here in town, and the sheriff's department that, we have each other's back quite a bit in a lot of things.
So when I was the chief, or even prior to being the chief, I was part of our tactical squad. Even way back then, I've been retired for almost 3 years now. And prior to that, I'm going back to when I was a lieutenant, which is 15 years, and we had a great relationship with the district. Not just the Fort Dodge district. We had a great relationship with St. Ed's and all the other schools within the city. And we would constantly train there by their invitation. We'd go to their schools and train and do our things. A lot of that was on active shooter stuff. We went in and trained staff when I was in law enforcement. I continue to do that with our staff now. 3 years ago, I think it was my last year as the chief. It was the first year the district did a lockdown drill with the students. Prior to that, I was involved in a lot of conversations when I was the chief with the district and a lot of the parents, and a lot of them were hesitant about wanting to do that because they thought it was going to scare the kids and stuff. And we do fire drills. Nobody's died in a fire in a school since 1950 something, but we've had a lot of school shootings in the last number of years around the country. So it's stuff that you wanna prepare for, you want to train for, and you hope you never ever have to use it. Yep.
It's sad, but it's a reality, right?
It's a reality. We have to. We live in.
Yeah, we have to not accept, but we have to acknowledge that it's there, and it's but doing so, we know that we have to train for it. We have to be prepared for it. The school does their part, the police department, the sheriff's office does their part as well. I know that I can trust that if I ever have to ask for help from the police department, which, we have had to ask for help in the past, not for anything to that level, but, I can almost guarantee you that everybody working is going to show up there. I forget what the last incident was, but it ended up being unfounded. But, we had everybody from the police department, everybody from the sheriff's office. And
yes, we had something. We had something at the middle school, right?
Yeah.
It was like a bomb threat, I think.
Like a call-in or some hoax call-in.
I think
we had off-duty officers.
I think everybody in law enforcement in a 50-mile radius
that's one good thing this community has, is that if something happens, you're going to have everybody that carries a badge there, whether they're working or not working. Yeah. But I think Jordan would agree with me on this, is that one of our primary jobs is not just training in case this happens. It's putting this training into place to try to prevent this from happening.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest goal. Obviously, nothing's 100%, and we're a school. We're not a prison where we got lockdown gates and this and that. We don't want it. We don't want that feeling. We want the kids to come and feel comfortable, and the staff to come and feel comfortable. But I look at my job as trying to prevent those things from happening the best I can, and that's why we put these protocols and things into place.
Yeah,
and I hope the community understands.
And I would give a shout out if you want to know more about our safety plan for those type of drills, go to the I Love You Guys Foundation. That pretty much outlines everything that we do. We follow it to a T. We review it. We send it out to staff every year. We do onboarding with new police officers. Every police officer on duty has access to get into our buildings, so there is no hesitant of not having access to a building.
Exactly right. Yeah, and the I Love You Guys program is a great program. Everything's free. That happened from an active shooter in Colorado, and the dad put this together.
Yep.
All of our school buildings within the county are on it. The sheriffs train the Gowries and things like that. So because if something happens in Gowrie, Jordan's going to be going to Gowrie. That's just the way it is. And if something happens here in Fort Dodge, the county, state, and everybody's going to be coming into Fort Dodge. So it's nice to know how that everybody's on the same page. So when you have to react, then they're all reacting the same.
Yeah.
So, but it's a very good program, and we do train on it a lot. We do at least 2 lockdown drills a year. We've got 2 lockdown drills this year that we'll be doing along with our fire and tornado drills, just like everything else, just to prepare. So they, like I said, it's about prevention, and that's part of the prevention portion of it.
Awesome.
Sure you can get in place. So.
Anything to add to that, Jordan, at all?
I mean, I agree with you. When we've had a few new guys come in recently, especially when school was out, but there was still some administration, I made sure to take them to the school buildings and get them familiar to it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of facilities around here, and
Yeah.
if you've never been in the middle school before, it can be, a little bit daunting to walk in there and see all the. But I think that's something I've emphasized to the new people is, I want you to be familiar with it in case I ever have to ask for help or I'm not here and somebody else has to, because I want them to be ready for it and not just to walk in there blindly.
Well, awesome, guys. Well, thanks a lot. Again, I would just want to thank our sponsor at First Interstate Bank in Fort Dodge. We know that every dream starts small. A first savings account, a first home, a first business. And with the right partner by your side, those dreams grow into something bigger. For over a century, we've invested in people, business, and the future of our community. Because when Fort Dodge thrives, we all thrive. First Interstate Bank, local commitment, lasting impact. Let's build your future together. All right. Before I start to wrap things up, any final thoughts on our school district safety, your positions, anything you want the public to know? I know safety is school safety. The safety of our students is at the core of what we talk about all the time.
Yeah, and I don't think you can say that enough. And I just want, I guess those that watch, I mean, it'd be nice if everybody's family in the district watched so they could hear this message, but. Anything that we do is for the safety of your children.
Yep.
And it's not to inconvenience anybody or anything like that. And if you have questions on that you need clarity on, I'm more than happy to sit down and talk to them. So
I agree as well. I mean, that's what I'm there for is for people to talk to me or ask me questions. When I'm available, know how to reach me. Find me at the high school, call the high school, or call the police department and ask to speak to me about it. But that's part of my role too, is just kind of educating them on my aspect of things. So if they have a question or have anything, to reach out to me with it, them or their students. So
well, thanks, guys. Two gentlemen that work for the district. Great partnership with our police department, with our SRO here. You're not going to find 2 individuals that take the safety of our kids more seriously. I think all of our staff really do. Everybody does it with the best intention. So I appreciate you guys and the work you do every day. It's not always glamorous as well, but you guys do a good job navigating through that. So as we wrap up today, one thing I usually talk about upcoming events, things like that. We have a home football game on Friday. We had one versus Mesa City a couple weeks ago. It was almost like a homecoming crowd. New stadium, new everything. It was packed. Officer Hagar was working the event. It was his pleasure to work the event a little bit. But I want to encourage people to download the school district app. So we have an app for the school district. Get on any Android or Apple device. You can download the school district app. That really will take you to a lot of things, especially like we're talking about school safety. You want to know about our school safety plan? You want to know about how to find bullying and harassment paperwork, any of our board policies? All that stuff's right in there. I will also encourage people to go to the Go Bound app. So Bound is the app for all of our events and our activities. That's a great app to have. I go on there. My daughter plays volleyball. My son's playing 7th grade football. I go in and tag the events that I want to have. I open it up. I can see when their event is, where it's at, when it's going. So if you need some help with that, I know our activities department's always helpful and would work with you on that Bound app. So it's a pretty good little tool. 2 good tools that I would highly suggest that we use. So outside of that, we host again Waterloo East. I think I said that a minute ago for football on Friday. We have a triangular swim meet. I don't know if people know, but Sioux City West, all the Sioux City schools have one swim team. They come here on Thursday. So that'll be a big meet on Thursday night for our swim team, and Algona's here is with them as well. So thanks again for joining us on the Fort Dodge Public Schools podcast. Be sure to follow us for more stories, updates, board tidbits. So until next time, go Dodgers.
Thank you for listening to the Dodger Download, your source for all things Fort Dodge schools. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and share with your friends, family, and fellow Dodgers. For more update and resources, visit us at fdschools.org or follow the Fort Dodge Community School District on social media. Until next time, keep showing that Dodger pride. This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.